New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And now the good news here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm Barbara Jean, and I am so happy to be here with you on this Friday afternoon, evening, depending where you are in the world. Welcome, welcome. Well, our first story is so exciting. I'm just thrilled. In 2020, the Good News Network reported that the inaugural class of the nation's first medical college on a Native American reservation had begun their studies. Well, now they've just graduated. Yeah. The 46 graduating students from Oklahoma State University's College of Osteopathic Medicine at the Cherokee Nation includes 15 members of tribes all around the country, including the Cherokee, Choctaw, Muskogee, Seminole, Chickasaw, Alaska Native, Caddo, and Osage. Dr. Natasha Bray, the school's dean, said the college was formed to address a shortage of tribal physicians in the U.S. as just 0.3% of all licensed medical practitioners are Native American. Whoa, yeah, that needs to be fixed. So part of what makes the college observing its first graduating so exciting is that $40 million it cost to build and staff the facilities was paid for entirely by the Cherokee Nation, who designed it to be a culturally relevant building with the Hippocratic Oath written on the walls in both Cherokee and English. Yeah, talk about DEI. I'll tell you, this is beautiful stuff. A 26-year-old Choctaw member said, I couldn't even have dreamed this up. To be able to serve my people and learn more about my culture is so exciting. I've learned so much already. Wow. Talk about good news. I'll tell you, that's what we bring you here on the New Thought Media Network. Oh, and our next story, they just keep getting better. They just keep getting better. Well, this is really remarkable. Talk about police officers having they kind of get a bad rap sometimes. Well, here's a very, very sweet story. It had all the hallmarks of an unremarkable night in East Boston for a couple of police officers before they got a call about a wellness check after a concerned citizen dialed 911. However, once they got the details, they realized that the caller wasn't so much concerned about his health, but about a special occasion that was soon to pass him by. He was turning 25 years old, but no one was there to celebrate. Aw. So Officer Israel Bracco and his partner Frank originally thought the call was a joke. Once they verified it was legitimate, they perked up, went to a bakery to furnish themselves with everything they needed for the task: muffins and candles. My mother raised me right. She would have killed me if I didn't, Officer Bracco said. The man with special needs, which went unrevealed by news reports, meekly answered the doors while the officers cheerily asked his name, how old he was going to be. Well, his name was Chris, and he was going to turn 25. And as Bracco was lighting the candles, Chris asked his partner how old they were. Oh, man, we're old. We're about 40, he replied. Candles lit, the pair belt out the birthday song. Chris, who had been fidgety and nervous looking, loses it with joy and gratitude when they finished, hugging the officers who had made his night. This is more than I could ask for, Chris said. Oh, that is beautiful. You know, when we think about humanity today, we got to remember there are a lot of really great people in our world. And well, here's another story, another great news story, because that's all we do here. So, a famous celebrity good guy, Chris Martin, recently gave a woman with a dodgy hip a lift to his show. Adding to a string of kind and considerate acts the famous frontman has performed for his fans over the years. Performing at Radio One's big weekend music festival, Martin was on his way to the artist area in a black Mercedes when he saw a woman leaning against a fence. The woman, 64-year-old Sandra Glenn, suffers from osteoarthritis and a dodgy right hip. I've had osteoarthritis in my hips. I know how it feels. Ooh, not good. Well, she was walking to the box office for an accessibility ticket when she decided to just rest for a moment. In her own words, she doesn't do festivals and had considered going home to watch the show on television. Then a woman in the Mercedes that just pulled up suggested Glenn accept her offer for a lift. The door opens and I said, "Oh, that's Chris Martin. I can't get in with him." And they said, "Yes, you can." Inside, Glenn recalls the atmosphere is chatty as if she and the celebrity were two old women. Glenn further joked that the car ride was worth the price of admission, saying, "I'm 64, Chris. I don't do festivals. I've come just to see you. And now I've seen you and I can go home." Wow, how sweet is that story? You know, we sometimes think celebrities forget about the rest of us, but in this case, not at all. Well, we're going to go to a quick little commercial break here. You're watching the New Thought Media Network. Don't go away.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center, Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring. And we're back.
Oh, I'll tell you, I'm so excited to be doing the good news tonight because there is so much of it. Well, here's a really fun story. Graduations are happening, prom is happening, and oh man, it's got to be tough asking out the girl you're thinking of taking to the prom. Well, Philly superstar slugger Bryce Harper just turned into the ultimate wingman for a teen looking to ask a girl out to the prom. Knowing his high school sweetheart to be a massive Phillies fan, Jake Pertella reasoned that if he could get Harper to help him deliver the message or the question, she would be certain to say yes. In a viral video shared by Major League Baseball, Pertella and Harper outside Giuliana Leonetti's front door. When the young woman answers it, Harper asks her if she would like to go to the prom with Portella. Hugs, disbelief, but most importantly, a yes follows. But how did a teenager at Haddonfield Memorial High School in New Jersey manage to get arguably MLB's biggest star to help out? Well, he said, I've been brainstorming ideas for prom for a couple of weeks, and I knew I wanted to do something Phillies themed because she loves the Phillies so much. I was talking to one of my friends, and I was like, there's some Phillies players who live in town. It'd be cool if I could get one of them to help me with it. One of those players happened to be Bryce Harper and Portella, deserving a recognition for some serious courage, came by one day and simply knocked on the slugger's door to ask if he could help in any capacity. Ooh, way to go. I'll tell you, might need help asking his girlfriend out, but the boy's got some strength. That is awesome. Well, our next story, I'll tell you, they just keep getting better tonight. Well, this story is about a 16-year-old. So, first prize in the USA's largest and most prestigious science fair has gone to a 16-year-old girl who found new ways to optimize the components of biomedical implants, promising a future of safer, faster, and longer lasting versions of these critical devices. It's not the work of science fiction. Bioelectric implants, like the pacemaker, have been around for decades, but they also suffer from compatibility issues when interacting with the human body. Of course. So on Friday, Grace Sun from Lexington, Kentucky, pocketed $75,000 and was recognized among 2,000 in the nation and the world's top STEM students as having produced the number one project. Whew, way to go. The award was given through the Society of Sciences Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair, one of the largest and most prestigious in the world. Sun's work focused on improving the capabilities of organic electrochemical transistors, or OECTs, which, like other devices made of silicone, are soft, flexible, and present the possibility of more complex implants for use in the brain or the heart. They have performance issues right now. Sun spoke of the devices. They have instability in the body, and you don't want some of the implanted bioelectric to degrade in your body. So, this new intervention, I'll tell you, this girl, oh, she's going to go a long way in our world, I think. But bravo, congratulations. And we're all better for it. Okay, well, continuing with high school, because, teenagers, aren't they simply the best? I like to think so. So, a young man has won a five-figure financial prize at the nation's top science fair for his research into a mysterious outbreak of tumors he witnessed among sea turtles under the waves of his home in Hawaii. Maddox Springer lives on Oahu and spent most of his free time during the pandemic free diving. Gee, you wash it, can't do a thing with it. Free diving among the reefs in Kanaheo Bay. Now, down among the quiet and peaceful coral, he couldn't stop noticing the practically every green sea turtle he saw was covered in cauliflower like tumors. Well, whether young or old, the whole population seemed to be infected and slowly dying, prompting Springer to start what would become a 2.5 year research project. It might have gone faster if wildlife authorities had agreed to allow him to perform a biopsy on one of the tumors. And without this direct evidence, he had to find other ways to collect data. His starting point took just a few minutes as a Google search turned up that the tumors on the sea turtles are likely, uh, well, we'll just call it FB for short, caused by a herpes type virus that affects 97% of all sea turtles. Wow, those are big numbers. Springer felt the outbreak was bleak and began researching what was the cause and what, if anything, could be the cure. Last week, 2.5 years after he began his work, he was awarded the $10,000 Peggy Scripps Award for Science Communication, which he presented at the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair. It was an incredible feeling just having my research validated. It's been a long time since I have felt like some change can be made for my research. Because he couldn't perform a biopsy, he was forced to collect data via photographs, which mostly told him what he already knew. Nearly every green sea turtle had FB. However, the photos also clued him in on a possible cause. Sea turtles are key to maintaining the health of coral reefs or worldwide as they eat algae that could otherwise suffocate the corals. They're not picky eaters and will eat any species of algae they come across. FB requires an external trigger for the tumors to form, and previous research has shown that tumors have contained high amounts of the amino acid arginine. But how and why would the turtles be ingesting so much? Well, the photographs taken underwater by Springer in the bay showed that the turtles spent much of their days eating one algae specifically, an invasive one. So once he established that, he was able to put together a correlation between the causation and now has been able to work around getting that fixed. So after 400 hours of diving and over 2 years of research, Springer believes the cesspools leaching wastewater through the porous Hawaiian soil into the bay are the cause of the tumors. The wastewater comes from significant amounts of this arginine, which is taken up by the algae that's then eaten by the turtles. So, grand prize winner says, do something different here and we can save these turtles. Sometimes we think teenagers can be a bit of a pain or that they're not doing enough, but I'll tell you, these stories are suggesting something very, very different. All right, so let's move on to brain surgery. I had that when I was a year old. Well, this was done a lot sooner than that. So Egyptians, yeah, get this, performed brain surgery many years ago. As with many things, a discovery from ancient Egypt has put a timestamp on the development of something: cancerous tumor removal from the brain. Yes. A man living sometime between 2686 BCE and 2345 BCE was nearing 40 when he developed malignant brain tumors scarring on his cranial walls. But scientists studying the skull with microcomputer tomography scans found evidence of tiny cut marks from sharp implements, meaning that ancient Egyptian physicians were either attempting to remove the malignancies or were performing an autopsy to study them. Either way, scientists at the Duckworth Laboratory at Cambridge in the UK say it's a first in medical history. It was the very first time that humanity was dealing surgically with what we nowadays call cancer. If those cut marks were done with that person alive, we're talking about some kind of treatment directly related to the cancer, or it means that there is a medical autopsy exploration in relation to that cancer. Evidence of cranial surgery from the Neolithic period has been found, but this is the first case of it involving cancer. Well, I'll tell you, we're learning more and more about the Egyptians and some of the stuff that they were able to do. It is a fascinating indication that cancer was, for these ancient physicians, a kind of frontier science, and the tumors removed from the man's skull would have been critical to expanding the scope of their understanding. Well, I'll tell you, the Duckworth skulls proved an incredible snapshot of the capabilities of ancient surgeons, as well as demonstrates that cancer isn't just limited to humans who enjoy the longer lifespans of today, but has instead played a role in human mortality for a very long time. Wow. Brain surgery that long ago? Whoa. All right, an Alaskan inventor. There are so many remarkable people on this planet. I don't know where these ideas come from, but check this out. An awesome inventor in Juneau has created a simple way to decarbonize small vessels and houseboats using tidal power, a relatively underexploited form of renewable energy. The device can deliver 1.6 kilowatts of power from the movement of the tides and as easy to use as dropping an anchor. Lance McMullen, pictured here with the 3D printer prototype of his invention from last August, launched a startup called Sitkana, which last year managed to cobble together $90,000 in seed money. Now, their first full scale prototype, the Chinook 3.0 portable tidal power device, has been tested and found to deliver fluctuating power levels as high as 1.6 kilowatts. The design is intended for live aboard vessels, houseboats, and small fishing vessels to power everything on board apart from the motor when it's time to drop anchor. How cool is that? An Alaska native, McMullen has been focused on developing the state's tidal power capacity for years. And ranged by countless steep fjords and inlets, the geographical choke point of the entrance to these tiny bays amplifies the natural power of the tides in the same way that the narrowing of a river increases the speed of the water flow. McMullen's Chinook works in essentially the same way as a wind turbine. The kinetic energy of the wind turns a rotor, which generates electricity from its motion. But because water is much denser than air, this effect is actually amplified. And because tides are perfectly consistent and can be harvested for energy from the force of their retreat and their advance, tidal energy is a whole lot more effective than wind because we know the tides are always going and wind, well, that baby comes and goes. All right. Well, let's just continue on this incredible research field we got going here. So now we're moving to Canada. So, using nothing other than light, Canadian scientists have developed an organic, smart material that can either soak spilled oil out of water or repel it. Wow, that could come in handy. The material can be used in the way like a sponge to quickly clean up marine oil spills before the oil reaches the shoreline and mixes with or poisons the sand, the vegetation, and the animal life. The special material called CNF SP aerogel combines a biodegradable cellulose based material with a substance called spiropyrin. The light sensitive material has a unique switchable property that allows the aerogel to go from being oil sorbent and oil repellent, just like a kitchen sponge that can be used to soak up and squeeze out water. Once spiropyrin has been added to the aerogel, after each usage, we just switch the light condition. We use the aerogel as an oil sorbent under visible light. After oil absorption, we switch the light condition to UV light. This switch helped the sponge to release the oil. So instead of squeezing it with your hand, just a little bit of light or UV. How cool is that? I tell you, doing this show is so fun. Okay, well, moving along, India, overpopulated, a lot of things going on. Well, when a severe water shortage hit the Indian city of, okay, I got to try and say this, Kozhikode in the state of Kerala, a group of engineers turned to science fiction to keep the taps running. Like everyone else in the city, the engineering student received a ration of 2 buckets of water a day collected from India's arsenal of small water towers. It was a watershed moment when the students' competition from 4 years earlier on the subject of tackling water scarcity and armed with a hypothetical template from the original Star Wars films, him and two partners set to work harvesting water from humid air. One element of inspiration was from Star Wars, where there's an air to water device. I thought, why don't we give it a try? It was more of a curiosity project. And according to Wikipedia, a moisture vaporizer is vaporator is a device used on moisture farms to capture water from a dry planet's atmosphere where protagonists, so kind of like protagonist Luke Skywalker grew up. This fictional device functions according to Star Wars lore by coaxing moisture from the air by means of refrigerated condensers, which generate low energy ionization fields. Captured water is then pumped or gravity directed into a storage cistern that adjusts its pH levels. Vaporators are capable of collecting 1.5 liters of water per day. How cool is that? Well, maybe we don't have to worry about water shortages. I know some places are getting a little close on that. All right, so here's an interesting medical mystery. And, Alzheimer's is really something that a lot of people have had to deal with. My dad had Alzheimer's, so it's it's a tough one. So over a decade, Big Pharma has been pouring billions into drug trials for Alzheimer's disease treatments without progress. But what if there was a neuroprotective compound with better early stage results than any developed pharmaceutical sitting right on our dinner plates? Hmm. Well, that's what Dr. Paul Cox may have discovered after solving the mystery of neurodegenerative disease on Guam, where in the 1990s, the rates of ALS and Alzheimer's like symptoms were 120% higher than the rest of the world. Dr. Cox would eventually discover that cyanobacteria, the same life forms that make green algae, produced a natural toxin called BMAA that was seeping into trees on the island. The trees would then grow seeds rich in the toxin, seeds that were eaten by flying fox bats, which in turn were hunted by locals for protein. The BMA was then poisoning the locals and causing, as Dr. Cox put it, deaths from neurodegenerative disease in every family that he spoke to. In 2003, Cox told the world about it. When he realized that this bacteria might be the culprit, it was like staring into the abyss because we realized you could be exposed anywhere. Seeking to understand and quantify the toxicology of BMA, Dr. Cox ran a trial through his nonprofit, the Brain Chemistry Labs at the Institute of Ethnomedicine, Jackson. What he discovered was that when monkeys were given the toxin for BMAA, plus an amino acid called uh, L-serine, the neurotoxic effect was reduced by 85%. L-serine is nothing magical, is one of the many non-essential amino acids we consume in our diets. Amino acids collectively represent what is labeled on food products as protein. L-serine is found in eggs and meat, as well as edamame, tofu, seaweed, and sweet potatoes in lower amounts. So if you're looking to stay healthy, keep your mind clear and sharp, and move forward in your day-to-day life with a great sense of excitement, well, there's hope for all of us moving forward. And our last story of the day, green batteries for EVs. Well, whether it's your EV or your phone, cheaper and greener batteries for electric cars and mobile phones could use our common element, iron, rather than scarce, expensive ones, shows this new research. So, a collaboration co led by Oregon State University Chemistry Research is hoping to spark a green battery revolution by showing that iron instead of cobalt and nickel can be used as the material in the lithium ion batteries. Woohoo! So save the planet, reduce emissions, and we're all moving in the right direction. I am so grateful you were here tonight. I hope you learned something interesting and fun, and I trust that you'll be back again next week for more good news here on the New Thought Media Network. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and hey, donate. New Thought Media Network, we're here for you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.